では、時間になりましたので、最後のセッション3を始めたいと思います。このセッションでは「地域と世界のネットワーク」というタイトルで、議論をしていきたいと思います。まずはじめに、今までのセッションと同じように、最初に20分、ゲストのホセ・エチェベリーさんの方から、プレゼンテーションをしていただきたいと思います。その後また、今度は海外スピーカー全員と静岡で今取り組みを進めようとしている服部さんをお招きしてディスカッションしていきたいと思います。最初に少しホセさんのご紹介しておきますと、もともとはチリの出身ですが、今カナダのヨーク大学で准教授をされております。それで、非常にこの分野、世界でもキーパーソンというのがたくさんいるんですけれども、例えばドイツのヘルマン・シェアも亡くなってしまいましたが彼だとか、デンマークのプレーベン・メーゴという人がいるんですけども、彼らとかと非常に強いつながりを持って、その政治的な動きだとかいろんな政策の仕組みっていうのをネットワークを通じてカナダの方に取り入れてきて、実際に先ほどステファンの話にありましたように、北アメリカで初めての州レベルの固定価格買取制フィードインタリフの実現に尽力された方です。それではホセさんからプレゼンテーションいただきます。よろしくお願いします。
Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me to Japan. It's an honor to be in your country in this time where you are commemorating the big events that have taken place in this country. I think you have, many other speakers have said this before, a unique opportunity to use the problems that have affected your country to start a new revolution that will make these events seem not like a liability, but a great opportunity to become an example for the rest of the world. I want to speak a few words with you. I want to tell you first where I'm coming. You may have noticed I got an accent. I'm from Chile, but I live in Canada. And I'm part of Canada's largest interdisciplinary university. In this university, the approach we use to knowledge is to focus on mobilizing knowledge for the betterment of society. That is our approach. We have created in the university a sustainable energy initiative whose sole purpose is to advance the use of renewable energy and energy efficiency in Canadian society and international realms. And to do this, we have taken an approach of combining forces between the university, technical colleges, and renewable energy centers. For those of you that don't know where York University is, here is a map where you can see we are in the Great Lakes area of North America. The city of Toronto is to the south of the university, and we are located north of the city of Toronto, just on the border of York region. Our approach is to use theory with practice. The idea is that we can show the young people that there are new opportunities and that they can become leaders. And we bring into the classroom leaders that are already making transitions to community power and renewable energy. In this picture that you see here, two community leaders that are developing renewable energy projects are explaining to the students how to do these things. This is the laboratory, the open air laboratory, where our students go to study renewable energy. And what we do is we bring them here so they can understand what the future looks like in the present. We already have solar charging stations for electric vehicles, buildings that use renewable energy to satisfy electricity and heating and cooling needs. So the question that the students always are presented with is, why is the rest of Canadian society not doing things like they are done in the Renewable Energy Center? And they use their time in the university to understand how to do things differently. In this picture, you see some of the young people measuring the solar potential of the university to implement renewable energy strategies in the university. And also we believe in hands-on training. So in this picture, you see some of the students putting together solar systems so they can use theory in practice. Another project that we have is we teach with our partners how to install solar systems, for example. And more recently, we brought people from Denmark to show us how to install safely wind turbines. In this photo that you see, this is a project that we have with one of the towns north of the university, where the town is interested in putting solar systems in as many public buildings as possible. So our research teams are assessing the entire town to see what is the potential for solar photovoltaics. And then we're putting all this information in a GIS system that is presented to the politicians so they can make decisions along with the communities of where to install renewable energy systems. This is the agenda of the 4 items that I'd like to touch upon in my presentation. So I'd like to start with the challenges of community power. My friend Stefan Sanger mentioned about how in Canada we have implemented feed-in tariffs, specifically in the province of Ontario. In Canada, electricity is in the jurisdiction of the provinces, not of the national federal government. So the example that I'll give you is about the province of Ontario, which is the most industrialized province and the most populous province of Canada. So this effort began in 2003 when a politician called Dalton McGuinty, he wanted to phase out the use of coal power generation because it was destroying the health of our people and also creating greenhouse gas emissions that affect the atmosphere and also air pollution that affect everybody. And I moved to Toronto from Vancouver in 2003 to begin work on bringing renewable energy and efficiency as a solution to stop the use of coal power. As you can see in this slide, by the year 2006, after 3 years of work, we were able to start the first feed-in tariff program. It was a very primitive program. It was very, very rudimentary. And that program was improved in the year 2009 after the wind power conference that Stefan Sanger spoke about, where the government introduced a Green Energy Act. It also introduced a more sophisticated system of feed-in tariffs, and it also innovated by introducing the first community power programs to ensure that people at the local level would be able to be participants of this new market that was created of renewable energy. The feed-in tariff program is at the moment under review, and it will be announced very soon what the new feed-in tariffs look like in Ontario. The beginning of this first renewable energy programs resulted in installations such as the ones you see in this photo. We chose to install renewable energy systems in the place where most people would see them. This is the Canadian exhibition place where several million visitors come every summer to have fun, to listen to music, to attend concerts, to attend theater. And that's why we decided to put that wind turbine in that place. That was the first urban wind turbine that was built in North America. And also this was followed by some of the largest solar installations at the time in Canada, which their size right now, it's almost funny to us. These were only a few kilowatt installations. With the creation of the feed-in tariff program, we began to see installations like the one you see here. This is a typical installation that a house will have here in Japan. It's the same where we live in Ontario. But also we began to see the creation of factories that are manufacturing solar systems, for example, and also solar installations in commercial buildings. And also, this is one of my favorite ones, the farmers now are able to farm the sun, farm the wind, along with farming for vegetables or fruits. And this is one of the biggest installations in the world right now. It's in the town of Sarnia in northern Ontario. It's 90 megawatts of solar. And who would have thought? People say Ontario is not very sunny, but it is actually. It's much more sunny than Germany on average, particularly southern Ontario. We also have people of all kinds of employment working on the renewable energy industries. And what is beginning to happen now is that groups are beginning to meet in the existing wind power or solar installations to talk about how they can do these things in their community. Now, the challenge that happens is once you have a feed-in tariff program in place, the opposition to renewable energy will become extremely strong, because prior to the creation of a feed-in tariff program, the people that are interested in coal or nuclear power don't have anything to worry about. They consider renewable energy to be something unimportant, but as soon as you open a feed-in tariff program that is properly designed, the market response will be very, very big, and the opposition of renewable energy will be very, very big as well. And the key aspects that people will begin to talk about, as Stefan mentioned a few of them, people will say the wind turbines are going to make us sick, the noise is going to make us crazy, the birds are going to be killed. All of a sudden people are worried about birds. Never before anyone was really interested in birds, but now people really want to save birds because they say that it will kill, wind turbines will kill birds. And they will go to extremes, such as this picture that you see here. This is the type of propaganda that the anti-renewable energy groups will give to people in meetings like this. They will say, do you really want to have a wind turbine? Look what will happen to your community. These things can go up in fire. Of course, anyone that has seen a wind turbine knows that the towers are usually made of steel, sometimes made out of concrete, but most of the time out of steel. So such fire is the creation of a computer animation. It's not reality, and Stefan Sanger, the head of the World Wind Energy Association, can tell us whether such fires have ever occurred. And the point of the story is that people will use this type of misinformation to try to convince people that the transition to renewable energy is not desirable. So I suggest that it's very important that we look at very pragmatic strategies to inform local communities about what is real and what is not real. But I think it's very important to keep in mind that even things that are not real are important to local communities. And we need to address the concerns of local people. They need to know whether things will make them sick or not, whether the noise will affect their families or not, etc. So sometimes people will say those are not valid concerns. But if people are concerned, then they are valid concerns. And we need to take an approach to address these in a professional manner. I want to give you a few examples from the international experience of projects that are involved in addressing knowledge mobilization to ensure that people in local communities can understand renewable energy better. The first one that I want to start with is RED Screen. RED Screen means the Renewable Energy Technology Screening Tool. And this is a tool that was developed by the Canadian government, and it's offered in about 30 languages. It has 300,000 users in very much every country of the world. And we have partnered with this organization in the university to be able to offer training of trainers. So anyone that is interested in learning how to teach about this tool, I'll be happy to talk to you. We have a series of trainers coming up in this year, both in English and French. So if you prefer to speak le français, it's okay. We can teach in French and in English how to use this tool. A second very important example, in my opinion, is the International Feed-in-Tariff Cooperation. The International Feed-in-Tariff Cooperation, it's an organization that belongs to the governments of Spain, Germany, now Greece, and Slovenia. So these countries have gotten together to do something very important. They regularly meet in the capitals of the countries that are involved on this, and also in Brussels. And anyone that wants to learn more about feed-in tariff, how to design them, how to maintain them, how to improve them, can come to these meetings. And these meetings are offered free of charge for people that are working on feed-in tariffs. And I think they set an example of the type of approaches that we have to implement. We need to be pragmatist. That means we need to concentrate on practical ideas, but also we need to be altruist. Altruism is the opposite of egoism, and the world needs more altruism because the problems are complicated and they require the best that human beings can bring forward. The last example I want to mention to you is a forthcoming learning platform that the International Renewable Energy Agency is going to be putting forward very soon. All the projects that I've been mentioning to you, I'm directly involved with them. And this one is one that I'm particularly very interested on. We have created a network of professors and a network of students worldwide. And I'm interested in meeting some Japanese students and Japanese professors so you can become part of this network. And the idea is to create a platform that will allow the dissemination worldwide of information related to renewable energy. The International Renewable Energy Agency has now 148 member nations. So this platform will be used for many, many years for many, many people. So it has a very important role. Now, to conclude, I want to discuss with you some of the important next steps that, in my opinion, need to be taken both at the global and local level. The first thing that I need to say to you is that I believe we need to have a concerted effort, an organized effort, to address what I call the myths of renewable energy. So people can have these issues addressed in a professional manner using scientific, rigorous information. So communities at the local level can have access to professional information and make decisions based on data, facts, and not imagination or propaganda. And to do that, my proposal is that we should create a new training opportunity so journalists and communicators from different parts of the world can come together to learn from each other on how to communicate properly about renewable energy. In the 21st century, the role of communicators is ever more important. For many, many thousands of years, humans have told stories. For thousands of years, we sat down amongst our communities and told stories around fires or in our communities. Today, journalists and communicators, filmmakers, artists, they have that role of global communicators, and they need to have an approach where they can access this information. And I came to Tokyo to hopefully speak about these things with people from Isep and JREF and other organizations, because I believe it's something that needs to be done very soon. The other thing that we need to do is we need to incorporate community elements into all renewable energy projects. And people in the previous panels have discussed how to do these things. And I want to propose very quickly 4 approaches on how to do this. The first one, obviously, the best form to do this is to have community ownership. You can design the Feed-in-Tariff program to favor community-level initiatives. That is the most logical thing to do. However, there are other strategies that I'll discuss very briefly. The first thing is to use, in my opinion, the Danish strategy. And Soren has spoken very well about the Danish strategy. Here, I just want to say something very quickly, that it refers to combining the use of renewable energy with things that are needed at the local level. In Denmark, the problem usually is not that there is not enough wind, but there is too much wind. So what the Danish people have done is they've created networks to deal with excess of wind power in the system and with the lack of wind power in the system. And by that, what I mean is that they can convert wind power, when there is too much wind power in the system, into hot water. And hot water can be stored in the local community and then distributed through district energy networks. And then it solves the problem of having too much wind power. And Denmark intends to have, by the year 2020, 52% of its electricity coming from wind power. And the reason why it can do that is because it already has the networks that enable them to deal with great amount of wind power in the system. Now, the other thing that we need to do is to organize all renewable energy project developers to treat community engagement. Whether the project is owned by the community or not, everybody involved in renewable energy should be doing this. We should be treating community engagement just like we treat operations and maintenance. That is like a cost of doing business. And we need to do this to ensure that there is development in local communities. Now, the last thing I want to give you, it's an example. Earlier, Suzuki-san, one of the earliest panelists, spoke about large installations. And I want to explain this in 2 seconds, if I may. If you're developing a large solar installation or a large wind installation, say of 80 megawatts, you can, instead of buying only 80 megawatts, you can buy 5 additional megawatts. And the cost to the project developers would be very small, 6%, 6.25% of the total cost of the project. And what you can do with those additional 5 megawatt projects is you could have 1,000 5 kilowatt projects or 500 10 kilowatt projects, and you could put these solar installations in health clinics, schools, emergency response units, and teach the people that are in the schools or in the health clinics how to maintain and install those solar systems. If we do this, and we do this in many places in the world, we will have a legion of people that like renewable energy, that will be at the local level ready to explain to others what the benefits of renewable energy are. And this is an important strategy, in my opinion. My concluding remarks. For many, many years, Denmark has been a leader in promoting worldwide the use of renewable energy. I believe that now the time has come for Japan to take a similar leadership role. You have the know-how, you have the technological expertise to become a world leader. You already are, for example, a world leader in solar photovoltaics. But I think it's important for the Japanese people to do something for the rest of humanity, which is you have suffered firsthand the effects of nuclear disasters. And you can speak with confidence about how problematic this is and how renewable energy can be a better option. And I encourage all the Japanese people, especially those of you present here, to start new international network efforts to be able to bring renewable energy for the rest of humanity, not just for Japan, but for everybody's sake. If we do that, we will protect the global atmosphere, we will all have energy security, and we will never, ever have again problems like the ones facing Fukushima. Thank you very much for your attention, and arigatou gozaimashita.
はい、星さんありがとうございました。続きまして、登壇者の方々とパネルセッションに入りたいと思います。登壇するまでの間、隣の人と今の話の感想を言い合ってみたりしてください。